Jay.
Yeah.
And you come out the other end and you still got a sense of humor, and you still love your neighbors, and you come out to a meeting like this, and you're here to get some information. That's great, and I have town halls typically twice a year. If I got this kind of a response for those town halls, that would be awesome. Maybe I just have to have a little bonfire before them or something. That'll get everybody out. So today is really an opportunity for us to kind of all get together and look at each other and have an opportunity to say, yeah, we're still here. We're still North Shuswap. We're still love the place that we live, and we're gonna move through this difficult time that we've had and be better for it. The amount of support that me personally, the people that are on the front lines fighting the fires, and the people who are making the sandwiches, and the people who are sneaking us in foods and gas and stuff like that, the support for and from all of those people is just, it's simply amazing, and I get goosebumps every time I kind of think about it and talk about it. But anyway, what I want to do tonight is give you some information. It's kind of some stuff that I put on the Facebook, which I think many of you have been keeping an eye on, and that's great. I'm not a Facebook guy, at least I wasn't until this started. But I certainly see the value of it in many ways at this point. Certainly some of you are not on Facebook, and that's, I have to find a way to get in touch with you. I do have a website as well that I put stuff on, and between those two, we'll stay in better communication. But anyway, what I want to do is, let me say thank you for coming tonight. Hope to provide you with some information as to what's going on behind the scenes in terms of getting ready to recover from this huge devastation that we've all experienced. I want to thank Mel Arnold, who's our Member of Parliament. He's just sitting over here. Greg Tylo is here as well, and he's our MLA. Greg called me up on Saturday morning. Thursday night was the night this whole thing started. Friday was just ugly. And Saturday, Greg called me up and said, I want to come and see it. I want to see what it looks like, what's going on out there. So he took a boat from Sicamous over to Magna Bay Boat Launch, and I don't think the weather was all that great.
Couldn't see.
Yeah, it was smoky as hell, and it was rough. And he got in about 4 o'clock, and we toured down to Lee Creek and back, dropped him off, and it was just kind of starting to get dark, and the smoke was pretty ugly, and I hope he had a good ride home.
Yeah.
He brought his son with him, so that helped, I'm sure. Son-in-law, pardon me, yeah. But I want to thank him because Mel and Greg have provided me, and I think many of you have been in touch with him at times, but they both provided me and us with a significant amount of support. And that's really important coming from that next level of government. It's, you don't always expect those higher ups to really care what the hell we're doing down here. But Greg and Mel are both really on board with this, and I want to thank you both for this. I want to just get an idea of who's in the audience today. You just stand up if you've lost a home or business. Wow. Okay, so that's probably 20% or so. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. I just want you guys to know that we're with you. I feel for you. I'm sorry for your loss and the shit that you've gone through. And myself, personally, and the community at large, we're here to help you get through this. And anything that we can do, give me a call, get in touch. We'll figure out how to do it. Okay? Who here is a local firefighter? one of our volunteer fire departments. You guys rock. You do, seriously. Not through just this, but every day of every given year, you're there to help out. So we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. Who here is not a firefighter but was out fighting fires? You guys rock.
No, we're criminals.
I said rock, I mean breaking rocks. No, seriously, again, we couldn't do it without you. The community would not be the same at this point had you and those people who stayed, myself, not stayed. So no matter what they tell us, I'm comfortable with my decision, and I hope you are too. We certainly made the community stronger. Woo! Who here was in support, like in terms of making sandwiches, delivering water, bringing in supplies?
The rum runners.
The rum runners. Between all of those groups that I just mentioned, 99.9% of us stood up. And we made it happen, and we're through it for the most part, hopefully, if God willing. And we're going to come out the other side. We've got a lot of work to do, there's no doubt. But with the strength of a community like this, it's going to happen, and we're going to be better. So I just want to go through, I guess, a brief description of the fire, I guess, from my point of view, kind of how I saw it unfold a little bit, and I'm going to ask a couple of people to come up and talk at the same time. And just, so Thursday, August 20th, they did that backburn. Late in the afternoon, right? 17th. Oh, sorry, yes. First mistake, oops. So that was the 17th, yep. And the question, of course, was where was BC Wildfire Services? Jim Cooperman, how many know Jim Cooperman? Jim is documenting this, the fire, basically the timeline, the actions that have been taken, the faux pas that may have occurred. And you're compiling all that. You're going to make a book, yes, but you're also going to put a complaint into BC Wildfires, is that right? Yeah. Why don't you come up and he's very enthusiastic about those things that he's very enthusiastic about.
Just to begin with, the first thing that I thought would happen when we all came in here was provide some gratitude to a true leader in our community. Right? He defied the rules. I mean, how many regional district directors would do that? And he went with his conscience, and he went with everybody that lives here. So one of the goals I'm working on is to write a book in collaboration with Deanna Kowalski to tell our story, not for just all of you, but for the whole province. Because our story is just one of many stories, similar stories about fires throughout this province over the last 10, 20 years. Stories of people that stayed behind and saved homes, working their butts off despite these evacuation orders and police at their doorstep and on the roads. Stories of how the fires could have been put out right at the very beginning, by loggers and ranchers and people with the knowledge of where they live, knowledge of how the winds blow, knowledge of what is happening in the backwoods because they've lived there for decades. Their parents lived there and their grandparents lived there. But yet we face a bureaucracy, and I don't blame any politician for this. I blame the bureaucracy because they make forest fire fighting a business. There's money to be made out there. It's in their advantage to keep those fires going. And they're making profits. It's unconscionable, really. And so we want to put the story together and tell the story of all the volunteer fire brigades in every neighborhood. And when I talk to people, and I talk to these people that have been out there working day and night, the stories are pretty much all the same. Oh yeah, there was a spot fire, we worked on it, but oh my God, we went to bed because we were just so tired, and we thought it was out, and the next day that house was down. They didn't get every one, but fortunately they got most of them, but they're still burning out there. There's still ones in our neighborhood, and I bet you there's still fires in your neighborhood too. So this fire has been very traumatic for me, and as it is for all of you. But as many of you know, I've written the book on the Shuswap called Everything Shuswap. It's taught in the schools. And I wrote it because I think the Shuswap is the best place in the world to live. And it's really hard for me, and I'm sure it is for you, to see what this fire did to us. And houses can be replaced, but those forests are going to be hurting in your children and your children's children's lifetime. It's going to take a long time, if even they ever recover. I finally went for a walk out there, and it was like walking on the surface of the moon. The soil is burnt. It's just ashes and mineral soil. It's going to take a long time. So anyway, I'm working on an official complaint that I think hopefully will go far. And if the complaint is successful, it could lead to a full inquiry that will allow for everyone to have a say that wants to have a say. So that's one project I'm working on. And the other one, of course, is this book. And then also, and this will come later, but we need to look at restoration. And so I'll bring that up on Facebook. But if anybody wants to come and provide any help at all in documenting what took place over the last few weeks, I'd appreciate getting your name and contact information. And just a little bit, I was asked to say a few words about the fire and this back burn. Yeah. I went and had a meeting with one of the world's top experts in wildfires. I presented all the evidence that I've collected so far. He took a look at it and said it went against all protocols.
No kidding.
Amen.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, when you study the burn from a photo created by a satellite, you'll see that there's no homes that were protected by the burn. The only place that didn't burn, that was close to the fire, was the west side of Lee Creek. And the reason it didn't burn, from what I can gather, is that when they lit that back burn and the winds shifted, the winds blew the fire out. You cannot see any fire much higher up on the power line above West Lee Creek. But what it did do is it blew that fire right underneath the power line, right through the Lee Creek Canyon, and devastated our neighbors' homes in Upper Lee Creek.
It worked for about 2 kilometers, that's about it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it didn't ever reach the existing fire. Okay, There you go.
Anyway, thanks, Jim, and I really appreciate the fact that he's documenting this and taking the care to get the timeline and the information accurate, and he's got connections that I don't have, and there's so many people that are doing a bunch of things that I just don't have time for, and so that's one of them. Thanks, Jim. So, I don't know, we move on to the middle of the fire, and we were all out there fighting. Finally, BC Wildfires arrives, and they tell us to step away. Well, that didn't happen, did it? No. So we were still out there. Anybody remember the convoy that was over on the other side of the lake?
What a
Well, that was a bit of a shit show. First thing I heard, I was sitting at Craig Spooner's having a bite, and somebody brought this Facebook thing up to me and said, look, there's a convoy going on over in Sorrento. They're harassing the police. I looked at it and I said, what the hell's that for? And then I got a note from BC Wildfires that said, due to the actions in Sorrento, we'll be pulling our staff and equipment out of the North Shuswap. And I said, holy shit. So, fortunately, I had contacts with BC Wildfires. They had been to our place on the Tuesday afternoon, so the day before, and so I had contacts with these guys, and the first thing I did, I texted them, I said, this is not us, we don't condone that action. These guys have nothing to do with the North Shuswap. We need you guys, do not go away. And they pulled that Facebook notice right off. And thank God they did, because we needed them. There's no doubt about that. There's no way we could have dealt with this on our own. Absolutely not. So yeah, we started getting national attention after that. All the national media was interested in that call. What was it all about, and why were we doing that? So anyway, that started my media attention. Then of course the thefts came up, locals fighting the fire came up, roadblocks came up, all kinds of attention, and I was kind of in the middle of this media storm. I wasn't looking externally. I was just dealing with the interview requests and everything else that were coming in and trying to get our message out there. So I really, even to today, I don't know what people in Calgary or Toronto or anywhere else know about what our situation was. But certainly early on, it seemed like they all thought we were a bunch of thieves and hooligans, looters, and so anyway, I think I do believe that we dispelled that after some long hard work. But anyway, moving on. Then with the roadblocks in place, we had those people up in Magna Bay, between Magna Bay and the St. Ives, and we had a whole bunch of people that exited through Seymour Arm and out the back way, and of course we had to take people out through by water from Scotch Creek across the lake. Just the messaging was so shitty. But we had these people that were not in an evacuation order; they were in alert, but they couldn't get out. They couldn't get supplies. They couldn't get anything. So the CSRD had to barge in stuff for them because nobody would let them go through any of the roadblocks. What the hell? Amazing word.
But even more importantly, even the people that were in the order still couldn't get it.
Well, yeah, the people that were in the order didn't get any supplies.
No.
Absolutely.
And you know what though? I just want to say this and I want to be clear. When people say shame on people for not leaving in the order, we got our order at 8:24. We had 3 of our buildings already burnt down at that time, and it's all documented in the video. So to say shame on you for not leaving the order, we had no choice. Our house was already burning when we had the order. Then we were told to leave after that. How, when you're helping your neighbor's place still stay afloat?
No, we weren't leaving.
You can't. And so, and
So, yeah,
then not giving supplies.
The timing of the messaging was just horrible. And I don't think, the CSRB puts those alerts out, but they're notified by BC Wildfire what to do, right?
At the business.
So,
But I can tell you now, as a computer technician, it was the wrong button at the wrong time, and that's what they blamed it on, to a lie.
yeah.
And that means either they're lying or they're not. If they're not,
Yep.
People lost their houses and they still didn't leave.
Yeah, I know.
They stayed and played.
Volunteer firefighters, lost houses, didn't leave. So then we finally had some people come up with a good idea of doing some training for local people to get involved with BC wildfires and go out and work on the front lines. And that was great. There's a number of people. Anybody here specifically involved in that? Right? Yeah. So Dean Acton provided a space for that. It was locals that did that. BC Wildfires did not initiate that. Locals did. We got some 50 or 60 people trained, and I think 17 to 20 or so went out and actually worked with BC Wildfires. BC Wildfires appreciated that.
I tried to take that course, and I was told it was full, and it turned out half the people never showed up, and I didn't get a phone call to say, can you be down here in 5 minutes? But to get back on that, then they did offer a class not even a week or two later, saying, okay, the S100, it's $150 to take the course. I said, we're in Flint's, let's do this. Then it got canceled because there wasn't enough interest or whatever it may be. If we can somehow try to organize that, maybe the CSRD or somebody, to get that course back here on the side of the lake and get people so they can stay and not get chewed out, that'd be great.
That is on my list. I'll get to that in a bit.
Sorry.
That's okay. So anyway, we're just talking about the community training. People did get trained. They were not compensated well, and but they did get out there and work. And what it did was actually, it gave us a point of communication with BC Wildfires, which was something that was lacking early on in the process, and it helped. It helped. So anyway, moving on to really, all of the people that were out there working fires, and they're still working fires, but we're close to the end. And hopefully, we know that this fire isn't going to go out until the snow flies or beyond. And we just have to be careful. We have to watch what's going on. Okay, so we're 3+ weeks into this, and I know that a lot of the locals have stood down. Carl worked for a long time. I was really happy when September 2nd or 3rd came along, and I was checking, and he said, yeah, well, we've had a break here. BC Wildfires was up and taking care of some of this stuff. He still got some damage on his fields from BC Wildfires that put fire breaks through. So ultimately, there should be some compensation for that. So we have to keep working on that, right?
I got one question. What is our current fire status as of today?
It's out of control.
Pardon me?
It is out of control.
Out of control. Are we
Okay.
on alert?
Yes, absolutely, we are
It would
alert.
be
Yeah.
nice if they publish that on BC Wildlife, not exactly what it is without scrolling down.
It's sometimes difficult to find, no doubt about it. I agree.
Next year.
Okay, so anyway, we're at the end of the fire. Well, we're not at the end of the fire, but we're kind of at the end of the beginning of the fire, I guess. We're through this, and things that we're considering that I'm suggesting to the powers that be. I sat down with the Premier the other day and had a little chat with him, not a big one, but a little one, and some of the things that we need to think about, and some of you brought these up to date, and that's S100 training. Certainly, I'm suggesting that we have that in rural communities throughout BC every spring, March or April, before this fire season cranks up, and have that opportunity for free, with the province paying for it. And I know there is money that the CSRD can apply for to get something like that done. So if we can do that every year and get more people trained, that would be valuable. I'll get to you just a second, Dale. Okay? Fire information in grade schools. I think in any rural community you should have fire information right through the grade schools. Every grade 12 kid should be coming out of there with S100 training. It's 2 days. Why can you not throw that in the curriculum? Should be there. Fire guards, we're a tourist destination, and one of the things that I've heard over the years is, you don't want to ruin the viewscapes from the lake. You're looking up at the mountains and you want to see this beautiful unbroken forest. Well, we don't see that anyway because of all the logging and stuff. But we need to have significant fire breaks all across the top of our communities. Right? A half a click of just clear cut that's cleaned up across the top of our communities. And you know, if you're worried about the viewscape, what you do is you put in a bunch of deciduous trees up there. You can make a little Canadian flag with some poplars and some maples, right?
And a water system.
And the other thing is that we've been talking about is having some of the local volunteer fire departments, some of the crews from the local volunteer fire departments being trained up in terms of wildfire fighting and rapid response. So that when something like this comes up, we've got a crew of 5 or 10 or whatever that can go out and put out a fire rapidly. And if we had something like that and it was in place and running prior to this, you know, that fire in Adams Lake wouldn't have gotten ahead. Okay, so I will take some questions here at this point, because that's really the end of that part of it, talking about the fire and talking about how we might move forward with things in and around the fire. And I know Dale Jones had a question prior to Butch, so.
Not a question, what I would like to do is see your intention of grade 12 brought down to the elementary school so that they've got fire spark from that point on. Then up in the junior high, it carries on to the S100.
All the grades should get some fire training. In grade 1, you'll be drawing pictures of bonfires or things like that, right? So yeah, exactly. Anybody in rural areas should be doing that.
So moving forward though, it's gonna rain, it's gonna snow, we're gonna have erosion up our yin. Are they looking forward to that? We have still only one road?
Nobody's looking forward to that.
Yeah, okay.
So I will talk about that. I will be talking about that. Yep. So it is something that is on our radar, absolutely.
Yeah.
How long was the power gone for? 18 days or something? 16?
17 in St. Ives.
Can we have a brand new emergency plan and involve the locals in planning it? Because I don't think we have one.
That's going to be something that we're talking about. The question is, can we have an emergency plan that involves locals? And that's a question that we're going to have to be looking at. I think the CSRD is going to have to take a look at the plans that they had in place and see how they jive with reality. And I'm not sure that it's going to look very good. So there's going to be a lot of review of those things, absolutely. Yeah, Butch?
Okay, moving forward with all this. As of right now, it takes CSRD 2 years to give you a building permit for any kind of anything if you're close to a lake or waterway. What are they doing right now to facilitate us to be able to move quicker with this?
Okay, so how do we speed up building permits?
Yes, because people are going to lose money because insurance only covers for so long.
2 years.
There you go. So, and
we are looking at that, and it is being discussed in the planning department and at the highest levels of the CSRD. So we don't have an answer at this point. This is still early days. We're just getting out of the emergency operation into the recovery portion of this. So we don't have all the answers to that, but we recognize it's an issue.
And possibly grouping all the different.
Yep.
Thanks, Jay. My question is basically, where's this going in terms of understanding what happened, started in July, and it's now September. And I want to know what the government, the higher levels of government, provincial, federal, and local, what the plan is in terms of determining what caused this, and what lessons are we going to learn from this, and how's it going to be, who's going to be involved in understanding it? Because people have lost a lot. They indeed deserve some answers.
So the question is, what are all the levels of government doing to understand what caused this?
Cause and what were the issues? Didn't get done.
What didn't get done? What decisions were
Made.
made? So I can't tell you that for sure. I would really love to see a full inquiry on this because there were mistakes made. Whether we get that or not is a very good question. It's certainly something I'm going to be asking. I'm going to UBCM next week, and that's one of the things that I'm gonna be pushing for. But whether we get that or not, I can't tell you. We have,
My point is that government has a duty and a responsibility to tell the people in North Shuswap what happened, why it happened, and what could have been done better.
Yeah.
It needs to be done in politics, with politicians.
it does.
It won't
And we
happen.
have 2 levels of politicians here, and they're hearing this message, and so we're all going to UBCM next week.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll get that message across.
Jay, you know me.
Of course.
Kyle over there. I'm wondering if this isn't going to speed up any replacement of the bridge.
Will the bridge get replaced? You know, my conversations with BC, or with Ministry of Transportation prior to this, they're quite happy with the bridge. They have no problems with it. They feel that they're going to be able to repair those timbers for the next 100 years as long as there is lumber. So whether this makes a difference in their calculations, I don't know. I guess I really don't have much hope for that, but it is something. There's a guy that emailed me from Calgary that they have a bridge for sale. And I sent that through to the Ministry of Transportation right away. I sent it to him twice. I think he got a chuckle out of it. So I really don't have much hope, but you know, it's certainly something that is it's something I ask about all the time.
And to add to that, the Talana Woodbridge.
Talana Bridge as well.
I'm really interested if there's some kind of financial assistance for people who lost their interim.
At this point, my understanding is that those people who are not insured and have lost a home have made that decision to be not insured.
Okay.
And therefore, there isn't a pool of money to fix that.
So the provincial government is not assisting, there's no kind of like.
Well, I guess if you look at it this way, that, you know, if the provincial government was going to fix up everybody that didn't have insurance, nobody would ever get insurance.
I get it.
So that doesn't mean that all circumstances are the same.
No, I don't. Insurance is quite expensive out here, we have certain.
If you can get it, and I recognize that, and that's a point that I'm making to the Premier and others as well, is that we have a challenge getting insurance out here. And after this, it's gonna be worse. So, you know, what are you gonna do about that? So I understand that, but at this point, my understanding is that, you know, it should have been insured, it was your choice not
I agree,
to.
but I also know that there are people that were unable to afford.
I know, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but there's a lot of money getting raised to help those people.
And it will have to see it. I mean, yeah, a couple $100,000 is not gonna make everybody whole. No. Okay, so the question is, why were the police out here doing the things that they were doing? I don't have a good answer to that. I tried to find out who actually made those decisions, who gave the orders to be out here and be Gestapo on us. And I never got a straight answer. But I do have to say as well that they weren't all that way. There were definitely good policemen out there that did let things sneak through and people get around to a certain extent. They weren't all bad people.
Jay, emergency measures that from the federal government gives those guys powers you would not believe.
Those guys.
Yeah.
Well, who's those guys?
That's what everybody wants to know.
Federal.
Well, I can't get a straight answer. Yeah, I understand, Dale. I do.
Okay.
But is it BC Wildfires making that decision? Is it CSRD? Is it the RCMP? I have not got a straight answer to that.
One of my concerns as being the coordinator for the first responders was our lack of support from BC Ambulance. It's a good thing I'm very creative. But in the redoing of the emergency plan, I would like to make sure that the first responders are involved in that so that we can figure out what the heck BC Ambulance
Right.
is going to do.
So BC Ambulance was not very responsive for us.
They were not responsible.
And just the other day, they wouldn't come in here because they thought that we were still under order.
Yes.
And we got that cleared up. but it was troubling.
I was the only first responder out here legally.
Two levels of politics, politicians here, and they're hearing this message, and so we're all going to UBCM next week. And hopefully we'll get that message across.
Jay, you know me.
Of course.
Title over there. I'm wondering if this incident will speed up any replacement of the bridge.
Will the bridge get replaced? You know, my conversations with BC, or with Ministry of Transportation prior to this, they're quite happy with the bridge. They have no problems with it. They feel that we're going to be able to.
Like, a lot of people have been asking me, hey, what is going to happen with all these black trees around my property? Because some of the people here live in areas where they can't just fall them because they're like right next to Buddy's house or whatever. And there's a lot of dead standing black trees, and they're asking me, well, what am I going to do about it? You know, it's outside of my wheelhouse, but perhaps maybe the provincial government can let them know how they're going to be either taken care of in that regard, or like what is their responsibility about those black trees.
My understanding is that if those blackened trees, burnt trees are on your private property, that is your responsibility. And was that like a promo for your business or something?
No, it's not.
No, actually,
no, it's not.
I know, I'm just joking, I'm sorry.
For all of the other people to kind of get a grip on basically the bigger picture of what's happening on their land.
If it's on private property, I don't believe the province. Really, what I know about rebuilding, okay? It's going to be taking some time. We know the CSRD is working to hopefully modify, streamline some processes. They're going about this geotechnical survey on a community-wide basis, because in general, each individual homeowner has to do this, which is something that I've been complaining about ever since I was elected. Why does one neighbor have to do the same report as the next neighbor? Good God. But anyway, they're doing this broad community-based geotech survey. It's going to take a bit of time, but it's going to speed things up in the long run. Okay? Some offers for people who are out of a home at this point. BC Parks at the Shuswap Lake campground are thinking. They're going to be providing some space if anybody needs to put their fifth wheels or that type of thing in there. We do have to work through the emergency support services program, but BC Parks there will provide some space. The problem with it is that they're only open until October 8th, so that really gives us like 2.5, 3 weeks, right? I've asked if they could potentially open that up longer. They were waffling on that. There's also, there's builders and people that are putting together mobile homes and things like that that are all offering to provide help and support for us, and things like tiny homes at cost and other opportunities for mobile homes. So if you are in a circumstance where you need to take advantage of some of those offers, again, get in touch with me and then we'll see what we can put you together with. This morning, on my Facebook, I put together a place for people to sign up if they wanted to get involved in a North Shuswap reconstruction team. And as of this afternoon, when I got home at 4 o'clock, there were 50 people that had signed up already.
All right.
So, I don't know all of the things that this team will be doing, but I know we'll be breaking them up into a variety of different things. We have to look at, working with the CSRD and getting homes built and trying to help out the people who are disadvantaged here. We also have to look forward, and we have to think about Scotch Creek and our other communities and how we can rebuild those in a way that's, maybe a little bit better than it was before. I have to get a team that's prepared to look forward and think about ideas for the next 5 years, the next 10, 15, 20 years, because now gives us an opportunity to look that far ahead and make some decisions about how we want our community to look. I mean, we weren't totally wiped out, and that's great, but we do have an opportunity to kind of re-envision what we had and what we might want going forward. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. And so, again, if anybody has an interest in that, either go onto the Facebook and find that post, or just give me a call or PM me or whatever, and we'll get you on that list. Okay? Jim, you're next.
I was just wondering if there's been any talk at all of creating a municipality in the North Shuswap, so we don't have directors from other regions of the Shuswap making decisions for us.
Yes.
And that won't get stuck in a situation like we have been for the last month.
I can't say that I haven't heard that in the last month.
Or give us a say in their fault.
It's a community decision. It's not something that I am going to take forward without the community making me do that. And I'd be happy to do that. I was on the incorporation committee of Scotch Creek prior to becoming elected. So it's not like I'm not familiar with that and I'm not sympathetic to it. Janice?
Yeah, thank you. Excuse me, I'm so sorry for everybody. I'm very fortunate. Okay. It's my fence bill now. Anyway, what I wanted to say is if anybody needs help, anybody at all, I don't care if you're a freaking millionaire or a pauper, Chase Food Bank will help anybody, at any time. I have the number for them. The Ham Society also donates money to them because it's for the whole of North Shuswap. So if anybody or you know anybody who needs help, my phone number is readily available and I will guide you where to go. Please do not go without. Okay?
No, Janice Fisher, she's in the back of the kicker right under the Food Hamper Society. You there?
Yes, so I don't.
She doesn't know. Anyway, if you require food, if you require help, Chase Food Bank is there, and we do provide funds, etc. for them, so they're happy to help anybody in North Shore. Okay, I know there's more. Butch, you again?
When are we gonna have a meeting with the CSRD people to voice our opinions about what happened? About the way they treated us on the North Shuswap? Like even the worst criminal in jail gets 3 squares a day, okay? We weren't allowed food, we had to fend for ourselves. We found a way, okay? We did, we found a way. But they treated us worse than the worst criminals in a high penitentiary prison.
Here. I will ask them to come out sometime before Christmas. Well, I mean, we've got a lot of stuff to deal with right
September
now.
already.
And truly, the CSRD is working their asses off. Their emergency operations center has been going 24/7 for almost a month. And we're transitioning now into the recovery center. And we know that the planning department was putting staff into the emergency operations center. And I mean, truly, the majority, by far, of the staff at the CSRD are brilliant people who care about what they're doing and they care about our community.
I never heard anything so ridiculous in my life. The CSRD has been patting themselves on the back, secondary, because they weren't here when we needed them. They hindered us. We've got people here that volunteer their time, their money, their resources, their people. Not once did you hear one of them saying how friggin' tired they were and how hard they were working.
I agree.
So screw the CSRD.
And they told people to evacuate after their houses burned.
Yeah. Do you want the recordings of the lives?
So, thank you.
The CSRD recommended we throw fridges away. My insurance company says you don't throw a modern fridge away. That was in Grandma's day when the inside was made of tin.
Okay.
Now there's a gentleman in Anglemont who did throw his 2-year-old fridge freezer out. And he spent 4 days and all of a sudden he goes, oh, there's one in Salmon second hand for $450. He looks at the back, It's his serial number.
All kinds of stories.
Anyway, we'll get the recovery center. The town never went to Sorrento today, and I'm not, bless those guys that are out there fixing everything. But to go to Salmon Arm to get the recovery services, shouldn't they?
Well, the recovery services aren't really in place. The resilience center is. The resilience center is mainly, it's the soft side of things. It's the social services, it's the emotional health, it's that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for that, then yeah, that seems to be.
I'm looking for them to be closer.
Yeah. Yeah, Service BC, Service Canada, BC Interior Health, Disaster Psychological Support, Red Cross, and those types of things are what are in the Resilience Center.
Why are they here?
They should be here.
Yeah.
Where would we put them though?
Right here.
What about the tent? Just
Well, then we couldn't have meetings like this.
Oh, yeah, we could.
I will certainly make that's a good thought, and you know, it's certainly, it should have occurred to me. So I will make that suggestion.
Might be safe for them not to be here.
Sorry, we're not going to be able to hear you from back there.
Okay, I'll be loud. I witnessed RCMP chasing boys, the local boys, in the trucks with water tanks and pumps, trying to stop them from going to those spot fires. More than, like, repeated. And what's gonna happen? Are they just gonna be allowed to stop us from helping each other when these emergencies happen? The RCMP did nothing but get in the way of everybody.
They were definitely difficult to deal with at times. I agree.
There was a spike bell.
Yeah, I know there were spike belts. Yeah. Yeah.
To keep us abandoned.
I mean, they are dealing with orders that they are given.
I know, but we have to do something about that.
And we have to do something about that at higher levels. Who made that decision? And that is an answer that I have not yet got.
We're considered criminals.
Excuse me, sir.
The 14th it was supposed to be done. Today's the 14th, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, the provincial emergency is off.
Good.
Yeah.
This afternoon at 3:45.
Okay. Okay, I've got one over here. We're gonna wrap it up here pretty quick, you guys. I want to make sure that I can get it here to have before I go home. I've got that gentleman over here. You have a chance.
Yeah, just one thing that came up for me is this one road in, one road out. Is anything going to be done about that? Is anything going to be done about even alternate routes past the Bird House through the Scotch Creek? Like, the roads are pathetic going through.
Our geography is difficult. There are roads out there, but none of them are good.
Yeah.
We went up through Seymour out to Malacqua. I mean, they did some work on it, but it's still not a good option.